Welcome into Fantasy Football with Corey and Kyle. Join us as we spin the wheel and pick two wide receivers for a game of Would You Rather. Now, before we get started with the Would You Rather, I'd like to invite you over to fantasyfootballadvice.com, where you can catch articles and videos from our entire team of creators. There's around 20 creators on there giving you fantasy football content to win your league all year round. And then you can also join our social media network and join other fantasy football enthusiasts and ask questions, answer questions, get more content, so on and so forth, and go have a good time and hang out with us. We're on there answering questions 24/7, 365. Right,
read the fine print, because if we help you win your league, you owe us a cut. So
yeah, I like that fine print. We should actually add that.
I actually just added that. I'm going to have to get with legal in the morning.
Yeah. Alrighty, Kyle, you ready to play some Would You Rather?
Dude, let's spin that wheel.
All right, hold on. Let's pop up this wheel here. Okay, so we've got a bunch of wide receivers here, and let's see. Let's get over here and spin that wheel. All right, first spin. Let's see what we can here. Landing on Malik Nabers. Okay, that'll be the first wide receiver we talk about. And would you rather Malik Nabers or, drum roll,
Be funny if it landed on Nabers again, huh?
Huh?
Be funny if it landed on Nabers again.
Oh, that would be sad. Marvin Harrison Jr. and Malik Nabers, two really big names after last season.
Yeah.
Going into last season, going into the new season. A lot of question marks kind of with both of them. So this is going to be a fun Would You Rather. Okay. So which one do you want to talk about first, Malik Nabers or Marvin Harrison Jr.?
Let's go with the Nabers first.
Okay.
Everybody knew that this kid coming out of college was going to be a stud. But then they looked at his quarterback room that he got drafted to, and a lot of people did what I did and said, let's give it some time.
Wrote him off.
Yeah, let's give him some time. Probably not going to do great out of the gate as a rookie. Also, just to clarify, we're doing redraft, not dynasty. So, yeah, everybody kind of kicked that can down the road until he went much later than he should have ended up. He ended up as the number 6 wide receiver on the season with Daniel Jones and company rotating at quarterback. Like, that's impressive. That's very impressive. That requires a lot of talent. I certainly didn't see it coming, not so quickly. So people who did draft him ended up doing very well with him. So, yeah, kind of a surprise for me this year.
Yeah, you mentioned that he finished number 6 wide receiver on the season, and that's after missing 2 complete games.
Mm-hmm.
So the guy was a target hog. I mean, absolute target hog. And he didn't have much competition for targets, right? Just kind of look at Wan'Dale Robinson. Okay, Darius Slayton. Okay, Theo Johnson. Like, there weren't other people really that he was sharing with. The running game finally came on with Tracy, but that was kind of late. But, I'm kind of a believer also that a lesser quarterback will really lean on those big names, right? And so they may actually force feed them. But they did a good job, the Giants did. The one thing that they did right was try to get the ball in their star's hand, right? Like, that's the thing that they did, and they kind of force-fed him. I mean, we're talking target counts. His first game in the NFL, he had 7. It immediately jumped to 18, 12, 15. Then he sat for 2 games, came back, got 8, and then 13, 11, 10, 9, 13, 10. He was double-digit targets for most games. I mean, it's just an incredible, incredible run. And he scored a total of 2, 4, 5, 6,
7.
7 touchdowns on the season. He had 2 games where he scored 2 touchdowns. I mean, the guy is super productive with even lesser talent quarterbacks. So depending on what they draft this year at quarterback, I don't know. I'll be interested to see how that goes. They currently have Drew Lock. I don't know.
Well,
Interesting.
Drew Lock looked okay at times when he, was playing late in the season. We didn't get to see as much of him as I'd hoped because of injury, but from what's being said, around the league, like obviously quarterback is their top priority this offseason. Their defense played pretty well this year, so they don't have a lot of need there. They have a running back. They have to get a quarterback. They're already thinking about veteran options. They'd be crazy if they don't draft somebody. So they're going to address that. And with an improvement at quarterback, you should see there's room for improvement in the scoring department for Nabers.
Yep.
I think you can see more touchdowns, but it's going to be hard to top those target rates, but the quality of those targets could also improve.
No, I agree with
that. You said like week 2, he had 18 targets, but only 10 receptions.
Right.
Excuse me. So, he had several. Let's see, another one, week 8, 7 of 13, 8 of 13, 7 of 14 in week 16. So, a lot of bad targets in there that are being counted towards that.
Yeah.
They want to get him the ball. There's a lot of room for improvement there with a better quarterback.
I agree.
So I anticipate them addressing that this offseason.
But it seems that he was kind of quarterback proof, and he was working well in that offense.
Yeah.
So absolutely. Okay, well, let's jump over to Marvin Harrison Jr., who finished number 30 wide receiver on the season and didn't miss any games. Personally, this offense has been very frustrating. It's very much a roller coaster ride. They're so inconsistent, up and down and up and down. It's just, can we trust Marvin Harrison? Great talent, don't get me wrong, but that offense seems all over the place this year. Do they get it together for next year? What's going on?
Well, the thing that he had going into it that Nabers didn't was a quarterback. Me and Kyler Murray very well. Love Kyler Murray.
Yeah.
They like to lean on the run just a little bit more with James Conner. They also – there was just no chemistry there, it felt like, with Murray and Harrison. Murray trusts Trey McBride.
Yes.
It doesn't seem like he ever really truly got there with Harrison the same way. A whole nother offseason. I mean, Murray was still kind of bouncing back the back end. He had just come back from that knee injury at the end of last year. And so it was like he was still kind of working with that. No, I think another offseason together will do wonders for them.
Yeah.
Obviously, Marvin Harrison is a talented guy, big target. But, they need more time together. I don't know what caused that lack of chemistry between the two, that lack of rapport, but I think they get it righted, and I think he makes a pretty good leap in production next year.
Yeah, I just want to point out that Marvin Harrison Jr. also had 8 touchdowns to Nabers' 7. So that's kind of interesting when you talk about where they finished and stuff. Of course, everyone loves their people scoring touchdowns. But Nabers are just kind of a PPR machine, racking up those points. Marvin Harrison Jr. And when you kind of think about, I talked about who was Nabers competing for targets with, right? Like kind of nobody, right? He was obviously top of the food chain. You mentioned Trey McBride, and that's the number 1 wide receiver in that offense, it seems. He finished the number 2 tight end this year. So he demands a lot of targets. He also didn't score a lot of touchdowns. Trey McBride didn't score his touchdowns until the final 2 weeks of the season. He scored 1 touchdown each of the 2 weeks, which is strange. So it's not like they're really competing in the red zone. You said it. They run the ball a lot, right? James Conner is kind of holding up better than anyone suspected under that workload. He's getting a really heavy workload. They're running the ball a lot. So those red zone, they running the ball, baby. So it's taken away from some of those scoring opportunities for sure. So,
and if you look at targets between Nabers and Harrison, Nabers only had like 3 or 4 games that he didn't have double-digit targets. You could invert those. Harrison only had 3 games with double-digit targets.
Well, if you want to know the actual numbers, Malik Nabers had 170 targets on the season to 116 for Marvin Harrison Jr. So a 54 target difference. Marvin Harrison only had 62 receptions out of those, whereas Malik Nabers had 109. So it's a huge, huge difference on the amount of targets and receptions.
Yeah. And Marvin Harrison did start becoming more consistent down the stretch, second half of the season. It took a little bit longer maybe to acclimate to the NFL than Nabers did.
I don't know. I kind of disagree. I still think it kind of came in spurts.
There was a couple of games squeezed in there that weren't great, but overall, and I can't remember who I saw them comparing him to. Might have been his dad, but it was like there's been plenty of other receivers that turned out to be elite that did almost identical numbers to what he did this year in their rookie years. So there's still plenty of time for him to get it all together and build that trust with Kyler Murray, which I think he will. Kyler Murray is a good quarterback.
Contrary to what you haters say,
and I
get off of Twitter and watch a game, and you'll see that he's actually a good quarterback.
We're talking to you, geezer. But like another thing, like they run the ball a lot. Their O-line blocks for the run very, very well. They seem to have a little more of a struggle blocking for the pass. Maybe if they improve a little bit on their O-line, that'll help as well. But ultimately, I'm not that worried about Harrison long term. But he did have a pretty disappointing 2024.
Yes, no, I agree. Especially since he went, number 1 in most rookie drafts, I feel like. So, in Dynasty. Okay. So,
but it's also a case of like you see in Kansas City, Kelsey's the number 1 guy there. Yep. Trey McBride right now is the number 1 guy there. And so, Trey McBride finished as number 2 or 3 tight end on the season?
Number 2.
And he only had 2 touchdowns all year. There's going to be room for improvement there as well.
Trey McBride had 147 targets, 111 receptions compared to the 116, 62, right? So,
so they just got a
big difference.
Just got to build that rapport, and that'll even back out, I think.
Yeah, 50 more receptions. Okay, so now is the time where we decide who would you rather have. Okay, so let's have a little fun with this, and let's hold up a 1 if you want Nabers, or a 2 if you want Marvin Harrison. And
again, this is redraft 2025.
Yep. So, okay, on the count of 3, 1, 2, 3, go. On go. Oh, sorry.
I thought that was the real countdown.
Sorry, I would have done it better. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, go. I saw you pick.
You fooled me on that.
Sorry. I am also going with.
I just wish you weren't a cheater. You're a
cheater. All right. Why are you going Nabers, Kyle?
I got to go Nabers. If he can do what he did last year with those quarterbacks, any improvement at all is going to see him bump up just a little bit higher into that top 5. Like I said before, there's room for improvement on the quality of targets, on the number of touchdowns. And I just think he'll be more reliable, more consistent. I think we do see some growth out of Harrison next year, but I think I'm waiting 1 more year before I draft him up with the upper echelon of receivers.
Yeah, I'm thinking the same. I like consistent players, right? And Nabers is consistently performing. They're feeding him the ball. That scheme, that offense revolves around him at this point, right? Whereas Harrison's not in that same. Marvin Harrison is not in that same. They still are going to run the ball heavy. no matter who their running back is. That's just the scheme that they have. And then
They can run it with Trey Benson just as easy as they can with Connor. So.
Exactly. So the system's just different. I like that in New York they're leaning on Nabers so much. He's getting so many targets in a PPR league. That is just easy money. Dude, that is just easy points. Bam, 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 bam. If I can get 10 easy points off my wide receiver and all the yards or scores are just bonuses on top of that, give it to me all day long. So,
yeah, 100%. I want to see this year from Harrison before I'm drafting him anywhere near where I'm taking Nabers. Nabers, to me, Nabers is a second-round receiver next year. Harrison, I'm looking round 5 maybe.
I was going to say 4, but yeah, sure.
Solid wide receiver 2 still, but not in that wide receiver 1 combo for me next year.
Not quite yet. All right, well, we're on the same page for this one. We'll see where we go on the next Would You Rather. Thanks for joining us, guys.
See you next time.